No,
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Distance Dilemma podcast. My name is Shaun, and I'm in Dublin, Ireland. This is Imran. He is in Thun, Switzerland, and this is our long distance friendship podcast. This is episode number 51, and we are back to our regular scheduled programming, and we are kicking things off with out of context weekly scenarios. This is the part of the show where me and Imran give each other sections of our week out of context, and the other person has to try and guess what's going on. So, Imran, what is your out of context weekly scenario?
so my out of context weekly scenario is for once in my life I wanted Chelsea to score.
So is this got to do with a bet?
Yeah, yeah, kind of. Not really a bet, but yeah.
So is this also like, if Chelsea score, United are in a better position in the league?
No,
No, so this is just like a wager in work of sorts, is it?
not in work. No, not a
Not in
wager
work.
either.
Is this in your friend group?
No,
Why? So was it for Chelsea to score the winning goal, or winning just for Chelsea to score like full stop, like for goal difference reasons?
nothing to do with goal difference.
So you needed Chelsea to pick up 3 points.
Yeah,
Is it so Liverpool didn't overtake? Is it got because is it something got to do with United?
no,
No. So this is just purely like you. It's better for you if Chelsea win.
yeah,
Does somebody is this got to do with anything? Got to do with your job at all in work?
no,
Is it got to do with something with your friends?
no.
I'm assuming it's not, I don't think Nicola was cheering Chelsea on.
No.
No. You needed Chelsea to. Did you did you want it so somebody else would be happy or upset?
No, I don't give a. You know I don't give a shit.
Okay.
You know I don't like Chelsea
I
anyways.
love I love how like this is like one of the very few episodes I've worn a Chelsea jersey in as well.
Yeah, yeah.
This is
That's
just
why.
total
That's
coincidence.
why before we jumped on, I was like, I can't speak about it because I was like, I'm sure he would want to talk about it. You were
Um,
okay to what you started with. You were close on. I don't want to say it again, but just to make
so
it.
like the idea that it was like got to do with a bet or a wager.
Yeah, but can you figure out what it is?
This is but it's nothing to do with work and it's nothing to do with your friends.
No,
Did you just put a bet on like an acca?
no, no,
Okay. Yeah, because like I've never known you to bet. So,
no,
but there's some. Was it like were you over? Were you over in that bowling alley place or something
no.
that we were at? No. Well, okay.
I just want you to
This
figure out. Can you figure out why I want them to win? Like what? In what premise do I get if Chelsea win? Do you get me?
yeah.
What's the bet? What's the wager? What's the competition that I would need them to win?
Okay, did you like say if Chelsea win, you're gonna gain like somebody's gonna have to do something for you if Chelsea win, or
No,
something is gonna get done for you if Chelsea win?
no.
This is the thing.
Try figure out the
This
competition. Try figure out the competition.
it's the Premier
Like
League, like.
no, but like it's a type of. It's like something that goes on in WhatsApp group chats.
Oh, last man standing.
Yeah, last one standing. Good, good, good.
Oh, you said this to
Yeah,
me off recording last week as well.
yeah. Because I had said I so last week when we finished recording, I'd said to Sean, I actually want Chelsea to win next week because I picked them in the first week. We started the second half of the season, last man standing. For anyone who doesn't know what last man standing is, basically you pick a new Premier League team to play each week, and you need them to win. If they don't win, or if they draw or lose, you get knocked out, and it just keeps going down until there's one person left, and then they win a big cash lot. But anyway, I was in
So
work. The
you were
game was
you,
on.
were- you were technically betting and gambling on that.
Technically, yeah, yeah,
Now,
yeah.
you see, lads, this fella's trying to throw me off the sniff every fucking week.
No, 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 no. But you got it, you got it, you got it, you got it. I'm just trying to make it difficult. So I was in work, and it was one of the lads' last days in work. So we let him finish early anyway. But he was like, "I'm going to sit back and watch the games." And it was really busy in work that day, so it was me and one of the other lads. So I couldn't actually watch the game, but I knew Chelsea were on. The one their earlier kick, or no, they weren't early kick off. They were like
Late
middle of the
kickoff.
day, yeah, like late kick off. Um, and he came into me then, and like I couldn't even get a chance to see the score. And he came into me, he was like, "It's 2-0 West Ham." I was like, "You're actually messing." I was like, "You're joking me." Because I was like, that's the banker like that week. I was like, surely this is the banker game for them. Because like West Ham haven't been on the best run. So anyway, I went downstairs to do my few bits that I had to do, fill up, all that kind of things. Came back up and he was like, "It's 2-2." I was like, "Nah, you're messing. You're messing." At least you ran around the corner and I was like, watched like 5 minutes of the game. And then, anyway, went on then another about, we were doing a few other bits then in the kitchen. And then I just heard like loads of people celebrating in the pub. And I just ran around the corner and I saw it was 3-2 and I was like, no way. And then all the lads in the last line group chat were just putting like face palm because they were all slagging all the Chelsea. Anyone that picked Chelsea first week, everyone was like, these are all out. Like it was like 57 people picked Chelsea the first week.
Right, yeah.
So everyone got saved in like literally like the last 3 minutes of the game. But yeah,
Nice.
it was a good week. It was a good week for Chelsea supporters, I suppose.
Well, it was a terrible first half and a great second half.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
but yeah, it has been like as we're recording this, Chelsea are playing Arsenal tonight in the second leg. So by the time this episode goes out, we'll know the results of that. But that's why I'm sitting here in a Chelsea jersey now, because we need a fucking Hail Mary. It will be a fantastic week. It couldn't have gotten any better if we beat Arsenal tonight. You know, which could happen. I don't. I'm not. We're in such a weird place right now where we could get hammered. Like West Ham battered in the first half. Like we could have gone in 4-0 at half time easily. Like you know, but then second half, like we could have scored 6. You know, we're just we're really unpredictable at the moment.
I know we won't talk too much about football because we'll move on to your scenario. But one thing I wanted to say, which I thought was really funny at the end of the game, was when Traore like threw Corella. Like he was like a t-shirt and he just like flicked him to the other side of the room, and then you can just see the Pedro's face is just like nearly about to cry when Traore starts walking towards him.
And Simone was like sitting next to me when this was all happening, and she didn't know who Adama Traore was, and she just goes, "Holy shit, the size of that fella!" The fella's not. For anybody who doesn't know who Adama Traore is, he's a fucking tank. He's an absolute unit, and he's like 5'2", and he's rapid.
And the funny thing is, he used to be super skinny when he was at Barcelona. Like, he was like the scrawny footballer as age, like 21, 22, really scrawny. And now you see him, you're like, Jesus Christ, how is he a footballer?
Little Hulk.
Yeah. But yeah. So, good week to be a Chelsea supporter. So, what's your out-of-context weekly scenario?
My out-of-context weekly scenario is an unusual burn.
An unusual burn? So, did you burnt yourself?
No.
Did you burn an item of clothing?
Yes.
Okay. So were you ironing in the house?
No.
Did one of your items of clothes burn while it was on you?
No.
Okay. So was the clothes wet and you tried to dry it on like a radiator?
No.
So you burnt an item of clothing. So you burned an item of clothing but not with an iron?
No.
Note that you didn't burn the item with something, or note that the iron didn't burn it?
I didn't burn my clothes with an iron.
Okay, grand. So, did you burn it with, did one item of your clothes burn on the stove?
No.
Or like anything to do with like electric cooker or anything like that? No. How else? Because you don't. Did it burn? Am I right on saying like the item of clothing did burn in some way? Yeah. Okay. Just want to get that before I move on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Like, I was trying to think. Would it got light on fire with a candle? Did it get burned with a candle? Like, did you lean across in it like laying on fire? It burned. How could it have burned? Was it anything to do with like a hot surface was burning it, or anything hot to do with like a candle or like an iron or like a stove or anything like that? So was it hot that burnt it?
Yeah, so heat did burn it. You're thinking down the wrong path. So this was intentional.
You intentionally burnt the item of clothing?
Yeah, this wasn't an accident. This was intentional.
Why are you intentionally burning an item of clothing? Does this have anything to do with you as like putting a logo on a t-shirt, like essentially like I don't know, like Shaun or anything like that, like anything to do with your music career? No.
You're gonna kick yourself because you're not far off, but like you're just not asking the right questions.
What questions am I meant to ask? That's the thing.
What's like one thing synonymous with this house that like you haven't touched on yet? Like you've talked about candles, you've talked about a stove and iron. What's something?
Oh, the fireplace. The fireplace.
Yes.
Did you burn an item of clothing from the fireplace? Okay, but why? Why are you burning an item of clothing
This
in the
is this is
fireplace?
what. Well, you don't really. You just. I'll give it to you if you figure out what I burned.
It was an item of clothing, just to specify
Yeah, it
that,
was
yeah.
not. It was
Yeah.
something I actually. To give you a bit more of a clue, it was something I actually had on me. I was wearing said item of clothing and I threw it in the fire.
Was it like a brand new white t-shirt and you spilled something on it and you're like, "Do you know what? This is not gonna come out in the wash, I'm just throwing it into the fire."
No, but good guess.
Was it like a t-shirt that was like too small or too big for you? And you're
No,
like, "Do you know what? I'm never gonna wear this again, I'm just gonna throw it into the fire."
no.
No. Why are you throwing an item of clothing into the fire?
If you get the item of clothing, I'll give it to you.
Was it a jersey?
No,
Was it a t-shirt?
no,
It wouldn't have been a hoodie because that's so thick.
no,
No. A shirt?
no,
You definitely didn't throw a jacket into the fire. Then I'd be a
no.
bit worried. Like
I didn't.
a sock. Was it a
Yes,
sock?
yeah, it
Because
was.
there was
Yeah,
a hole. There was a hole in your sock, so you said, "You know what? I'm not gonna wear this anymore. I'm just gonna throw it into the fire."
exactly. That's exactly
Okay,
it. That's
okay,
exactly it.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
literally just. I was on the couch last night and we were watching a film, and I just like like had my feet like tucked under my leg. You know that position where your
Yeah,
legs
yeah,
crank
yeah.
up, and I could just see like the palm of my foot, which was my sock, and I could just see a massive hole, and I was like, oh, so like when the film was finished, it was like 9:30, and I was like, there's no point in like ever wearing these again. And the fire was still going, so I just fucked them in the fire.
Was Simone there when you threw it into the fire?
Yeah, yeah, she was like, yeah, that's reasonable. I said
Oh yeah,
apologies,
fair.
not that I particularly have smelly feet, Ram, but I was like, sorry if this like stinks for no reason, because you just never know with feet and heat and socks like that sort of thing, like.
Do you know this thing as like being a man though? It's like I don't know, like I'm not saying that like I refuse to buy myself socks, but I never like intentionally get up and be like, "Do you know what? I need to get myself a new pair of socks." Like it's always been the case. Like Nicola's like gone pennies, and I'm like, "Oh, here, will you pick me up a pair of socks?" Or like a family member at Christmas has got me a pair of socks. Like I've never intentionally was like, "You know what? I'm gonna go to the shops and buy." Like I still have socks here now that have like one hole in the corner, but it's not that big yet, so I'm waiting for it to like
To develop.
dramatically get, yeah, like to develop, like basically what like you happened to you.
Yeah, I'm getting better for that sort of thing. I think like it's a really like guy thing. I do like I'm gonna like at some point this year, because I'm at the point now where a lot of my clothes are actually far too big for me. But I'm also like I've also like spent a lot of money buying new clothes that are again now too big for me.
Yeah.
So I've said to myself, and I said to Simone, I'm not buying any new clothes until like midsummer, when I've dropped like another 3 stone maybe, and then I'll buy some new sets of clothes, because I'm just pissing against the breeze, like because like even the jeans I'm wearing right now, I bought these jeans in October, and I can't walk around with these things without a belt, or else one of my out of context a few weeks ago, I'll walk into a room and my jeans will just fall down. So yeah, that's I'm just like, I'll do the same with my socks and stuff. I'll like buy loads of new socks. Like I'm gonna like go out and spend like a bit of money and like buy like new socks, jocks, jeans,
Treat
shirts,
yourself.
trousers. Like I'm fully gonna like redo my wardrobe.
Hot take though, isn't it actually expensive to lose weight?
Yeah,
Like when you think about it, like I was talking to one of the lads about this the other day because I was actually talking about you because one of my mates at work, he was saying that him and all his buddies are doing a triathlon this year back in Ireland, and the reason that they're all doing it is that one of his mates is getting married, and he's a big lad, and he just wants to lose a bit of weight so he looks good for the photos and everything. As many people do, like getting ready for the wedding dress and stuff like that. And I was saying, oh, like one of the boys back at home, he's doing really well at the moment, like losing loads of weight. Talking about you per se. But I was saying that we were talking before off camera and a little bit about like how expensive like it is, because you've got to like constantly every 3 months then change your wardrobe. Obviously then like if you're training a lot in different pairs of socks, like your sports socks, you've got to get new socks and like your new jocks, because the activewear ones like they wear after a while because you're wearing them and washing them so much. Like it's
yep.
expensive. Like when you think about it.
Even like me and Simone really notice it doing our weekly shop. Like it's so true that it's much, and like not to be like this is why this happened, because there was a multitude of reasons of why I got as big as I did. But it's so expensive to eat healthy, man. Like going and buying things, like buying fresh vegetables, buying like good cuts of meat. Like like me and Simone, probably once a week we'll buy like a 3% fat mince, and those things cost like £8 now.
Yeah, they're
And that'll
expensive.
only do it. That's only will really do you for a day, maybe like so enough for some leftovers the day after. Like but chicken breast, like when you're looking for those like lean cuts of meat, and I understand why, because like there's a much bigger filtration process that goes into taking the fat content out of the mince or to stripping the chicken breasts. You've got to employ people to do that, or you've got to run a machine to do that. That costs energy and that sort of stuff. But then like so that'll add like at least 25 quid a week onto your bill in the shopping every week. And then like you said about like buying new clothes, or even wearing, like I easily wear 2 pairs of socks and jocks every day. Like it's
I'm the
as I'm
same.
recording this, it's midday and I'm already on my second pair of socks and my second pair of jocks for the day, because I've been to the gym, woke up, got into a pair of each, and I've like worked out in them, had a shower, and gotten into a new pair. So that's like pretty much twice a day I'm doing that. And then similar
Yeah.
to with your clothes and stuff, like you're like, and that adds up when it comes to the energy bill. Whereas obviously you would change your socks and jocks every day and stuff, but the washing will pile up more and more because you're using more sweat towels. You're using you're showering twice a day and stuff, and just building a bank. So yeah, shit is expensive.
I mean, really see that like in the States, for example. Like I know, like I have my cousins and family over there, and they said like when they wanted to do like a Whole Foods shop, get your eggs, your oats, all your good meat, like you were saying there, like it was nearly costing them up to like $180. But if they wanted to buy, all processed foods, anything that they can throw in the microwave or thing, like you're getting them at like $2 each for, like to feed a family of four. So I think it's like they don't help you in terms of like it's more expensive to buy the wholesale foods like you were saying before. And I feel like that's like a major issue, and like a why a lot of like countries like for example like America have a big issue with like over people being obese and overweight, because they don't have you know the right amount of money to be able to have the flexibility to make home cooked food, and like you're saying there, good meat, good veg, good produce. I think that's why we are in a bit of a better look in Ireland a little bit with that kind of thing, because it is expensive, but I think you can kind of work around with places like Aldi and Lidl, and you can shop around a little bit, where I feel like the States is not as flexible, I think.
Yeah, well, especially because like supermarkets there, like like within like a 5 minute walk, or maybe say a 10 minute walk from my house, there's two major supermarkets, and that I would say is the case for most people in Ireland. Like within a 10-15 minute walk, you're gonna have at least one major supermarket. Now, is it
Yeah.
realistic to walk home from that with a big shop every week? No,
No.
but like it's more like there's big shops everywhere. Where I think in America they're a lot more spread out. Like you've got the likes of like Walmart and Costco that are like these big stores that are in the middle of nowhere, and they're kind of like their model is kind of based on buying in bulk and buying stuff that lasts long. And I know I've seen it a lot in American sitcoms and stuff where like it's a really common thing for people to have like you know like shelters of sorts, or like like an apocalyptic thing ready to go, where like they'll have like cans of stuff that's never going to go off, like tins of beans and spaghetti
Yeah.
hoops and oatmeal and stuff that doesn't go bad, you know
Hmm.
have that
End of the
all
world.
stored away, like so it's almost like they're incentivized to borrow that sort of stuff and to to buy it. And then like obviously when you buy that stuff, some of it's going to go into that storage, but a lot of it's going to get eaten as well, like
Yeah, it's funny, like it's you can buy a sniper rifle and juice at the same time.
yeah.
I remember the first time I went to America and we went to visit my family. They live in Boston, and they brought me to Walmart, and they were just a huge ass Walmart where they live, like about 20 minute drive from the home. And they brought me around like for the first time, and like you'd seen it on social media at the time. Like I at that point I was probably about 11 or 12, and like kind of getting introduced to Facebook, so I'd seen videos and stuff of Walmart and like American supermarkets and stuff like that. But when you see it in person, you're like, Jesus Christ! It's like the whole frozen section, and then you go from there then to the back where it would be all like bread, whole wheats, and then out of nowhere you just cut the corner and there's like guns on selection, ammo you can buy from behind the desk. Like it's just insane. And then you go from that, and then they've got all like sportswear you can buy, like new bicycles. You got like all like basketball hoops. Like you can literally buy everything in this one massive store. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's just a bit mad, to be honest.
America kind of fascinates me. Like I do want to go and just like
for a bit of perspective, really. Like,
Yeah, just to see what it's like, I've never been. It's something that like I would like to do, like maybe in the next 5 years. I'd like to go over to the States and just like see. It's like I'm not really interested in like New York. Like I'd like to go somewhere like Nashville or like Miami, or like maybe LA or something like that. I'm not really interested in like the New York shopping experience. The only thing I'd actually like to, there's two things I'd like to do in New York. One of them is go to Ground Zero, and the other one would be go to Cat's Deli
oh, I thought
for
you were
like
going to
30
say
quid for a
Joe's
sandwich.
Pizza too.
Yeah, I mean, like it'd be one I'd probably go, but like I'd be more prioritizing Cat's Deli when it comes to food. Just because me and Samar are big sandwich lovers.
I feel you, dog. I feel you, dog.
Yes. Anyway, we'll move on to our topic for the week, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, and we are going to talk about something a little bit more light-hearted than last week. I think last week, while it was a great episode, also quite a heavy topic, so we're going to go play it a little bit breezier this week, and we're going to talk about the best advice that we've ever received. Do you want to kick things off with this, Imran, or would you rather I started it?
I think I'll go first because I don't think I have many on the topic because he did only task me like 15 minutes before we started. But
This is also true.
this is also true. But the one thing that kind of stood out to me, and I don't know if I think I've said it on the podcast before. So like growing up, I played a lot of sports, and I really like pretty much for I'd say about 15 to 12 years was like my whole life. I just trained match every Sunday, and then like really growing up in my younger years before like I turned 18 and kind of started going out and stuff like that, like I literally all I did was train, and like all my friends at the time were involved in sports and stuff like that. But like we had some like good successes over the years. Like we used to always get to like cup finals, semi-finals and stuff, and we had like a lot of unlucky like I don't know if I've said it to Shaun before or anything like that, but like I've lost 9 finals. So like I've experienced a lot of times of getting to like the point where you're going to win. And obviously when you're at that age, you think,
It's
like
the
when you're at that
Arsenal of
age,
GAA.
yeah, yeah, pretty much. Or Mayo would probably be the best example. But yeah, when you think of it, like when you're at that age and like that's all the time and effort you put into, like you think it to you, it's like Champions League final. So like I was really invested in that time, and I remember one year we got to the final and we had a really good team that year. Played really well, like finished second in the league. Um, got to the cup semi final and one of the other ones, and then this was like because we were in the top three divisions, we got to like the like All Ireland final, so it was pretty big for us. Like we had like a lot of people from the club came down to watch. This thing was like under 15s or 16s, but again, anyway, we lost the game anyway. After going the extra time, lost by like a point or something, and I was devastated. Like the whole team were devastated. Like lads were crying on their knees and stuff. And like Dari actually like picked me up and he's like, "You're alright, you're all good," and all that kind of stuff. And then in GA they do this a lot of the time where like after the game, like the manager will come, the opposition manager will come and just like say a speech to like the lads, like just like, "Oh, hard luck, lads, fair play to you," and all that. But one of the lads like said something to me that I actually thought was like really, really smart. He's like, you never actually lose when you play sports. So it's either you win or you learn. And I know it can be a little bit cheesy, but it actually is so true because like that at that under 15, kind of under 16 age, like you're still transitioning then into like adult playing sports. So for me, it was great because it's like I'll learn from like losing that game of thinking back, being like, oh, what could I have done better that I didn't being able to in the game? Because I know it's just a one-off game, like that's what finals are. But like in sports, truly, what I believe is like you can always or even in like musician or whatever, you can always better yourself the longer you go on. So that was one thing that like stuck with me at like a young age is like there's always room for development there. So like you never actually are losing when you play sports. It's just like you win and you can celebrate and it's great, but you also learn on the other side of it.
Yeah,
Don't
cool.
know if you can like talk about like that. What do you think about that or whatever?
Yeah, well, the first one I was gonna say is like quite similar to that.
Yeah,
It's I like my and it's something I really, really live my life by. It's something I've been like, I'd say I say it to myself like I'd say once or twice a week, and I've been doing so since I've been like 18 or 19. But I live by the motto to make mistakes and learn from them. And like especially not being afraid to try things and just give something a go, and like it be okay with not being good at something,
I
like
find that hard.
yeah, it's very valid. Like it's something that me and Simone have been talking about recently as well, because Simone started to learn how to drive. So she is Simone, and Simone, Simone's like super, like Simone's got a really high IQ, and Simone's naturally really, really fucking good at things. And she also kind of struggles with that a little bit, where like if she's not good at something instantly, she'll like just be like, no, I can't, like, like
Take it to
she kind
heart.
of take it
Yeah.
to heart. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Whereas I'd be the opposite. I'm like, oh, I'll keep trying and going and going and going again at something until, I've either burnt out the avenue. It's like, right, okay, this isn't happening for me. Like, like golf, or there's another thing I could say that you know about me, but I don't want to say it on the podcast because it's something a little bit embarrassed about. But you might know what I'm talking about when I say that. But even when it comes to instruments and stuff, like I'm not, and I'm very open and honest about this, that I am not a fantastic guitar player. I'm not even a very good guitar player. I'm very basic. But what I feel I'm better at when it comes to music is I'm a much better stage presence. Like I'm not afraid to engage and talk with an audience and stuff, and that's stuff that kind of comes from practice. Like and getting better at the guitar comes from practice as well. But these have all come from making mistakes. Like and it applies to so many avenues in life, like you mentioned there with sports, or I talked about music there. It can even be like with relationships, whether that be romantic, whether that be family, whether that be with friendships. Like I know there's times where like I've maybe said or done things that at the time I didn't realize they were you know as big of a deal as they were. And like you make those mistakes and you move on with life, and the most important thing is you learn from it. And I'm a big advocate for like the worst thing you can do is just not try. Try something, and you never know where it's gonna go.
It's kind of it's every time I don't know why every time I think of the Nike ad is the Shia LaBeouf clip of him saying like just do it over and over again, and like it is really funny. Like I can't lie, like I laugh at that video so much every time I see it because it was just so out of pocket, and it's just kind of like him just going on like a rant. But like the premise of what he's saying is like kind of true. It's like if you don't just try it, you'll never know. And
Mm,
like I think the biggest thing is like, and I even have some friends that like I know they have like a talent and something, but they won't just try it.
mm,
And like I've definitely been a person like that I've suffered with like ideas and things, and like I went through times where probably like I could have tried something that I had an interest in, but then over time I didn't realize like it was for me, or I didn't think it was something that was go down my avenue. And I think one thing I said what you were saying there is like I definitely feel like I would be like in the premise of like Simone, where like if I don't pick something up quickly, I do get bothered by it. And I'll give you a funny story. Is when me and Nicola went to when we were into Renton, we took a rowboat out on in Lake Bled, and it was one of them wooden rowboats that you have to like do kind of like do like a circular instead of like the ones that we do where it's like you can just bring it back. You kind of have to do like a rotational
yeah.
way of thinking it. And for whatever reason, like I just couldn't get the technique of pulling the oars back towards myself, like in the rotation, and we were just going around in circles, like, and like I was getting like so frustrated that I couldn't do it. And Nicola obviously was taking the piss out of me, but I was just getting so overwhelmed that I couldn't do it that I had to just let Nicola just jump on, and she was able to get it very quickly, like. But like it like when you think about it, like we were laughing after the situation, like when we were back and stuff like that. But it's like I just overwhelmed myself so much because I couldn't do something that
Mm,
on the premise looks like an easy task. But I think a lot of people are like that because they're like stubborn with themselves. But that's just because I feel like I'm one of the people that not that I have high expectations for myself, but I feel like if I try something, I in my idea it's like I already should know I should be able to do it before I even start it, if that makes
mm.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you have any other ones that you kind of were coming
I
up
have
with?
some more. I have a few more here, but I just done one there, so I'm gonna let you take the wheel for the next one if you fancy it.
Yeah, just again, I don't have many that I can think of, but the one I kind of was just thinking about there was kind of like in the work premise. Uh, I talked a bit about this before. Like we kind of talked about, I don't know if it was last week on one of the dilemmas. Like someone had said something about like self-respect in the workplace. Like when I started, like I started working at 16, and I was working in like primarily jobs that like the younger generation are kind of looked upon as, you should listen to me because I've worked longer in an industry before. And like me and you have talked about this before, like people that work in such a long area of like a long place, for example, like in a restaurant or think they think they have this like higher, calling, or think they deserve more in the workplace. But I always think is like when I was in working in my first job at the gigs, some guy said to me, he was like, don't worry, young lad. you just work away and do your own thing. Don't focus on yourself. Don't focus on others in the workplace. And I was like, that, you know what? It's so simple, like just to focus on yourself in the workplace and don't worry about other staff. And it's so true. Like every other workplace I've been to, I used to like start worrying about other staff members not doing things or other people not doing the work. And it's like if you start dwelling on others in the workplace and like if they're not being able to do stuff like up to their standards, then like you're not even focusing on yourself. And it's like no matter what you do, like it could be sport or music. Like if you were a musician now and you started worrying about someone else from Dublin that's doing the same thing as you and you're constantly focusing on them, like how are you going to better yourself in any way? So one thing I just picked up on what he said was like I think what he was trying to say in a casual way was just like just focus on yourself and you'll be able to grow then within your role rather than instead of focusing on someone else. Which I think is true because especially with like social media now, like and we talked about this before, you're constantly looking at other people's lives. And it's like a big thing that a lot of us have, especially our generation, I think, as well, is like we like to compare to people on social media. You know, like that's the life we should be living to and that we aspire to. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but I think if you're constantly focusing on others, not focused on yourself, you'll never be able to reach, you know, a life of betterment for yourself, I suppose.
Yeah, like I've had that, like, once or twice, and like I've had to snap myself out of it like really quickly. Like I say, this is like it's a thought that'll come into my head for a couple of seconds, then I'll just have to cop myself on and be like, no, like that's not the right way to think about it. Like, and like it's very easy to be like envious or jealous or look at somebody else and go, oh my god, they're doing this and they're doing that and they're doing this really well or they're doing this very badly. But like you can only you can just focus on yourself, and it's also really important to acknowledge that like everybody has their own challenges going on as well. Like, so for them to be able to post whatever they're posting, like, they may be able to post this but they can't post other things. Like, I know for a really long time I was really afraid to post certain types of content or represent myself in a certain way because of issues going on at home.
Hmm.
Especially got to do with my mom and stuff. Like, I had a really like troubling relationship with my mom, as you know. And I was always afraid to acknowledge certain things in my songwriting, to phrase things certain ways in the content and stuff. And like that, I felt like they put chains were put me on me in that way. And this is like totally in my own head as well. But then,
Yeah, yeah, of course.
in that regard, then on the opposite end, I had to get creative in other aspects and like different like upbringings and things that either can like fall into your lap through luck or through like having friends who are like photographers, or having friends who are good at things that want to help you with certain things, or having to learn certain skills by yourself. Like, these are all things that can be good and can be bad. Like, it's good to learn these skills by yourself, but then it's also bad that like you're relying on that you can like you're kind of relying on other people sometimes as well. Like, there's positives and negatives for everything. So like you were saying there, like I think it's just really important to focus on yourself and what you can control, and when it comes to like those type of ventures that you're doing in life.
Yeah, because sometimes like we kind of forget like a lot of things that we do is out of our control. And like I was definitely a person growing up, like I used to dwell a lot on things that I couldn't control. And then it's like when I look back on it now, it's like I kind of wish that I had a bit of life experience to understand that, you know, you can only really have control and, you know, put energy into things that you know that you can fix in the present time. And I feel like if you don't learn that, you know, I know that, like I was saying there, it does come with age and kind of life experience, but if I wish I was able to better equip that into my life at maybe when I was like 16, 17, 18. But you know, again, like you don't want to live too much and dwell on the past. I know like that is like a thing, but like we always want to keep moving forward and stuff like that. But that's one thing I kind of like wish, looking back on now, I wish I could have like I developed that into my life a bit earlier. Okay,
Yeah.
anyway, do you want to bring in one of your ones?
Yeah, it's like one of the next things that I had, and it's kind of like touching on similar to nice little segue from what we were just talking about there. But one I had written down was, you judge others by their actions, so don't judge yourself by your intentions. And what that's kind of getting at is like sometimes like and yourself, sometimes we as humans think really fucked up things. A thought can come into your head and it's pretty fucked up, and I have been really guilty of this, of like, thinking things or thinking a certain way, and like not acting on these things, but like these things just like kind of popping into my brain, and like feeling really guilty or feeling like I'm a bad person for, for considering something like this when it's not something I actually wanted to act on. It's just something that popped into my head, and like, I thought on it, or like it's just a thought that like hasn't been able to get on my brain, and like that can be, that's like so vague, and it's intentionally vague because these things can like, range from like, how you, how certain relationship dynamics work, and can be sexual things, it can be things got to do at work, like it can be such a like wide range of things that just pop into your head, and like no intention of ever acting on them, but I feel like there's that self-critic inside, which, it's for me anyway, like it's been a big thing of like, like, oh my god, shut up, you're like, I think I'm a bad person for having those thoughts in some ways, but I've just like, it was something my therapist, like, when I was trying to like talk to her about it at one point, she said like, don't judge other people. You judge other people by their actions. So
Yeah,
don't judge yourself by your intentions. Like, judge yourself how you judge other people, which is by your actions. Like,
that's good. I actually like that one.
yeah,
I haven't heard that one before.
yeah. Because I don't know. Like, if like I'm sure we all have like fucked up thoughts, like, daily.
Yeah.
Like daily, like stuff. If that, like, if people knew that came into your head, you'd be put into jail, or you like people wouldn't speak. People wouldn't speak to you.
Like the lads group chat gets leaked, you know.
Yeah.
I always see that meme from the Wolf of Wall Street where it's like all the lads like pulling up in the jail cell, pulling up their signs, like their prison numbers, and I was like, that is like all the lads memes group chats from back in the day.
Yeah.
I have one more written down here, and it kind of like only came to me when you were speaking a little bit there. Is like no one's gonna hand you a silver plate, and it's kind of like the same thing as like if you want to do something, either that be with sport or college, for example, or even like a relationship with your friends. If you don't put in the work, then nothing is going to be handed to you. And like again, I'm saying this from like two lads that are from North Side Dublin that don't grow up in privileged areas. I'm not saying that we had a hard life. Like we are very lucky and some circumstantial. We actually were very lucky compared to other places, especially in the country of Ireland and around the world and stuff like that. But like I said again, I've said this on time. Like poverty is really a perspective thing because like we like really in our lives like we condemn ourselves like saying that we don't have a lot when we do. Um, but the one thing I'm trying to get at here, what I'm trying to say is that I think is if when you're working towards something, like for example, I'll just use you as an example as a musician. I've seen Shaun as a musician start in like fifth year, sixth year of skill, and then now when I first met Shaun and he was telling me he was doing music, like the growth from him, for example, was not seen like through social media the way that most people probably see Shaun now on Instagram and things. It was probably done from him writing about his life experiences growing up in Northside Dublin in a household that probably wasn't great with situations that he didn't want to talk about in his personal relationship, and that was like an outlet for him. Like just using you for example, man, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But then like there's lots of things that people don't see behind the scenes. Like there's lads that like I grew up playing on a GA team that were great, but they didn't see it at the times that they were in the park by themselves, kicking a ball around, after school, after work, like so that's what I really think is like no one's gonna hand you something in your life if you're chasing a goal. You really gotta, if you want to do something, you gotta go out there and do it yourself. And it's the same with anything. It's the same with college. If you basically, it's the same with a relationship, with friendships. If you don't put in the effort or any work into it, how are you expecting it to become, silver plated gold relationship? It's like I don't. If me and you didn't keep in contact, like how do I expect me and you to have a good on and on friendship outside of the podcast? I know we did this as a passion project, but like if we had gotten rid of this podcast right now, I still think me and Shaun would be good friends
Yeah, of
because
course.
even before this, we like did talk a lot. We did meet up at least twice a month when we lived in Ireland. Like we've always been fairly good mates the past 3 to 4 years. But I'm saying like whatever you do in life, I think if you don't put energy or a work into it, like how do you expect anything to be given to you? And I think that kind of contradicts the idea of luck. Like because I'm really one of the people like I don't necessarily believe that luck is something that's given. I think luck maybe is necessarily to people that put in work and they're getting given granted, rewards for what they're doing.
Yeah, and like what you're there's two things that I don't want to like shove words in your mouth, but I think like really apply to what you're saying. It's that thing of you make your own luck.
Yeah.
In that way, I think that's kind of like a good way to summarize it. But also, there's a big thing. This I think like in the context of like people who work in music will understand this, but and like if, to be fair, people who work in any sort of profession where celebrity status is a possibility of like the industry, like or like influencer fame, whatever. But like there's this thing, and it's most prevalent with music, where like it's like, oh, it was an overnight success. A song was an overnight success. It's like that song. Yes, that was the song that turned. I'm going to use Chaperone as an example because it's a fairly recent example of like last year when Good Luck Babe came out and it was like the biggest song in the world. It was heard everywhere. It's like, oh my god, this is an overnight success. It's like Chaperone has been working her ass off for the last 5 to 10 years, going out like she was playing. There's clips of her playing Pink Pony Club on a piano, busking in the middle of a square in America. That's overnight success. Like it takes 10 years to build an overnight success, and like another good recent example would be Billie Eilish. Like Billie Eilish burst out with Bad Guy, but like she was building something for years with Phineas. Like her and Phineas were building their thing for years, and like putting work into their craft. So when the opportunity presented itself for like that platform, like when the platform presented itself for a song to blow up in that space, like they're ready to take advantage fully of that. Like it's not about luck and right place, right time. And like I'm also somebody that I've said this many times to podcasts. I'm a staunch atheist. I do not believe in God. I don't have any belief for that sort of thing. But what I will say is I massively believe in karma, in the sense that I think if you do good, good things will happen to you, and I think if you do bad, eventually bad things will happen to you. That's not to say bad things happen to good people all the time. Good things happen to bad people all the time. But I think in that overall kind of zeitgeist, the bigger picture, I think the more good you do, I just kind of think of it as like a word of mouth thing. Like if you do good things and don't gloat about it and stuff, like other people will take note of that and it will come around to you in some form. I believe in karma in that type of way.
Yeah, play devil's advocate of like what you're saying there, just about the do good things happen to you. I think it's more like a model to live by. I think if you like implement that into your life, I think that's a good way to be a good person to live your life. I don't think necessarily like because like you were saying, like so many bad things happen to good people, and like people have died of illnesses at really young age. They've been a great person
Yeah.
and things like that. But I think on the premise of what you're saying there, like to live your life, it's a good way aspect. I also just before we maybe move on to the subculture, I did have another idea that I was going to bring up in the pop culture section, but I think it just kind of relates to what we are talking about here about you talking about in the music industry. So the Grammys were on the past, I think it was last night or the day before,
Mm.
and it's just kind of the premise of like what Sean's been saying about putting work and that people don't behind the scenes. Leon Thomas won album for best R&B artist, but he was working in the industry for over 14 years. Olivia Dean won best new artist, and she had been working in the industry 10 years. And then I think it was Lowly Young won best song with Messi, and she had been working in the industry 12 years. So like a lot of time people aren't seeing the hard work that are put in behind the scenes before it. They get this internet overnight over success, and I think like that is a premise in like so many sports. Like you even see it with footballers nowadays. Like some of them don't start hitting their prime until they're in their mid 20s. So like it really depends. Like Jesse Lingard was probably a good example when he had that form at West Ham. You know, that was like a big thing talked about when he went on loan there. So really, it's just about how much time and effort you put into something. And like again, I think that comes a lot with probably aspirations for yourself and goal setting. And like me and you have talked very highly about the idea of diary writing and how important it is to like write things down, especially I think this day and age with social media, it's so easy to get into the brain rot section of your life. So, but
Mm.
yeah, just wanted to say that because it's just one thing I noticed recently.
Yeah, I know we're cautious with time as well. I just have a couple of
Yeah,
other ones that
yeah,
I
yeah.
had
Go
written
ahead.
down.
Yeah, yeah,
One of the ones that kind of applies to what we were talking about there as well is, be kind. You don't know what someone's going through. Always,
yeah.
treat people how you want to be treated, stuff like that. And one that I've kind of like applied to myself quite a lot, and again, like we'll skim through this really quickly, but don't buy. This is probably like something that everybody can take from this, right? But do not buy something just because it's on sale, right? And that's because if you weren't going to buy it at full price, you probably didn't need it anyway. And if you're only buying it because it's on sale, you've just spent money that wasn't going to be spent anyway. So you've just lost. You've not saved that, and you've only lost. If it was €300, you spent €200. You've not lost. You've not saved €100. You've just lost €200. Just
Yeah,
something that
that
I've
that
kind of tried to pick up over the last while. Stop wasting money.
That's our one.
Yeah, it is, especially with Amazon being as tempting as it is.
It's always the good things in life that are always so tempting.
Oh yes, just like my good
Oh
self.
yes, yes. You say it, Sonny. So we'll move in. We'll move into our pop culture slash current affairs. And like I said before, Grammys was something I was going to bring up, but we do have something on the premise that I wanted to bring up because it is February. It is coming up to that special date with your loved one or loved one to be. It is
St. Bridget's Day.
Valentine's.
Oh,
Yeah, Saint Bridget's Day.
St.
Yes,
Bridget's
love
Day.
that song.
Yeah.
All the Catholics, come on, boys.
Yup, the boys.
But yeah, no, Valentine's Day, and I think we'll just talk about the day, what you do with your partner, the pressures that come with the societal buying, the overbuying, the underbuying, and the whole idea of Valentine's Day. I thought it'd be a good and nice, easy topic to talk about, considering it's coming up within the next week or
Yeah, I
so.
think the
So
week that we release this podcast, it'll be Valentine's
yeah,
week. So
it'll be
very
Valentine's
around.
week. So there you go, lads, giving you some ideas. So, what kind of is like your concept of Valentine's Day? Do you and Simone celebrate it? Do you not celebrate it? What kind of?
Yeah, we go. I'd say bigger than most on Valentine's Day, and the reason for that is because, like I've said before, I don't really celebrate Christmas. So me and
Yeah,
Simone don't buy each other Christmas presents.
yeah,
But then what we've said, like what we said we do is instead of doing Christmas together, like we'll kind of go a little bigger for Valentine's and birthdays. Like we take those, just like we just notch those up like a slight bit. Now I would say like us notching it up a slight bit is like to other people it's like that's like a bare minimum, like but we'll buy like nicer presents for each other, like yeah, we're not too fussy. Like Simone's been kind of saying to me the last days, it's like I'm so annoying to buy for, like because everything I'm into is so niche. But yeah, like we buy presents for each other. We go out. We do the typical thing is like we buy presents. We go out to dinner. I get our flowers and chocolate, and you know try and buy like a meaningful gift, like a card, of course. But yeah, like that's really the extent of it. We don't like put like massive weight or massive pressure on it, like because there's been times where I've been out of work and stuff, and you know if funds just aren't like super flexible, like and that's happened on Valentine's Day, that's happened on birthdays where like I've had to pay for car insurance or something like that, or we've just had an emergency happen, so you have to prioritize your money. But I think it's more about, for us, it's about the intent and the effort, like I know for me, something I'd like to do when I give gifts and something for when I receive stuff is like I'd rather spend €20 or have €20 spent to me on something that I would really use, really value, and get a lot of use out of, than spend something that's like 200 quid that I'm not going to get any use out of,
I'm
or
very much like
vice
that as well.
versa.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to just spend 200 quid to say I've spent 200 quid to buy something, like I'd rather spend 50 quid on something that I know you're going to enjoy, where it's like that's like something functional, like for me an instrument, or for Simone like a piece of graphic design equipment, or like if it's tickets to an event or something like that,
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think on a societal terms, it can be a lot of pressure. I think around this time for people to overbuy on gifts, and that's why we often see, like you were saying, they're kind of like discounted items in stores, and the pushing of overbuying on social media for your partner and things like that. And I think, look, I do think the premise of the day is good, but I do think you should be loving your partner 365 days a year, not
yeah,
just one day
absolutely.
a year. But I think for the premise of, like you were saying there, that you don't really celebrate Christmas, it's nice that you have like a day in the year where you get things maybe a bit more personal for yourself and someone. So I do like that aspect of it. I think for me, what me and Nicola like to do is we kind of like to spend money together. So we'll either go out for like a really nice meal, or we'll plan maybe like a holiday that we want to go on, or we try to do something that like together as a couple, rather than like individual gift giving. Now, like I still will get Nicola flowers and a card, or chocolate, like something small, and like that's kind of something we've kind of done, like I say, over the past 3 to 4 years. It hasn't been like a major day for us, but I can see why it's important to people and why it's a big day. And I think it is one of the, I would say, seasonal, holidays that I think is better than some others, if that makes
Mm.
sense. Like I think
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
I don't think it's a bad like, day for people to celebrate their partners. Like I like the concept and the idea of it, rather than I'm not gonna negatively put it down on, in terms of like other days that might be come out through the year where I feel like there's a lot more pressures, like we said before about Christmas and just things like that. So yeah, I think the concept of it is good, but I think sometimes there is a pressure on societal things for like overbuying and over purchasing, which I think people put a lot themselves under pressure on. But I think that's not just with Valentine's Day; it's a lot of other days in the year.
Yeah, and like, because I see like a lot of stuff on social media where like you'll have like like a partner be super disappointed in their gift. It's like, man, like I feel like unless it's something that's like pretty insulting, like just you should just like kind of appreciate like the efforts that it took, like like the money that they'd spent on you or whatever. Like, and like, again, this is like very different depending on like how far into a relationship you are. Like like if you're living together, like if you're together, like you and Nicola are together 10 years, me and Simone, this will be our fifth Valentine's Day together and stuff. And like it's just it's different depending on the stage of the relationship you're in. Like if it's your first Valentine's Day, I think like like yourself, your first one or two, like it's birthdays, Christmases, Valentine's, whatever. Like there's that like pressure to go a little bit harder. Like I remember for me and Simone's first anniversary, I bought her a Dyson Airwrap, like which wasn't cheap, like it was expensive, like but and like now for our anniversary, like I don't we just don't spend that type of money, like just because we're very secure in our relationship. Like I feel like sometimes it can be like something that people are overcompensating for as well. It's like they spend like hundreds of euros to like prove that they love them. It's like, I know Simone loves me. Simone knows I love her. Like it doesn't matter if I buy her a voucher for her favorite coffee place or if I buy her like a pair of runners that she wants. Like it's more the thought that goes into it. Like
I think early on Valentine's Days for newly couples, I think it can be a bit of a bigger opportunity for them to show, you know, a side of themselves that they mightn't show regularly. I think like if I'm like for example, I'll use like a macho man. I think for him it's like good initially in the relationship to kind of maybe go a bit more or put a bit more effort into it because it kind of shows to his partner that it's a bit of a bigger incentive for him to show that he's more like a loving kind or whatsoever. But like you were saying there, I think with time and when you're longer together, like for example, like you were saying there, like me and Nicola are 9 years now in May, so you can kind of see the change from when we first got together to now is a bit different. But yeah, I think overall, I think as a day in the year, I think it's one of the better ones rather than some
yeah,
other
for sure.
ones.
It's a nice. It's
Yeah,
like
for sure.
it's a nice. It's all about the love and the warm fuzzy feelings.
Love and peace, baby, love and peace. I was going to say I'll bring in the Urdison's Dilemmas, but the WhatsApp on my laptop just crashed in front of me, so I'm going to let Sean read them out this
Okay,
week.
fair enough. Okay, so we're moving on to your distance dilemmas now, folks. This is the part of the show where me and Imran take anonymous submissions from you guys and we read them out and we'll give you our opinions, we'll give you some advice, whatever you want. If you would like to submit your own distance dilemma, please go to the link in our Instagram bio and we post that on our story a couple of times this week as well. Just to reiterate, these are all totally anonymous. If you do send one in through that link, we cannot see who has sent it in. We've no information on it, so just put in whatever you want. Bitch about your boss, bitch about your boyfriend, tell us something weird that happened to you that you want advice on or you want us to talk about in the podcast. It's all completely anonymous. Anyway, moving into our first dilemma of the day. This person says, I recently found out my close friend was talking about me behind my back. I don't want to cut them off immediately, but I also don't trust them anymore. What's the move?
Interesting one. Interesting one. Have you ever experienced anything like this before?
Um, I not exactly the same, but like I've had a similar-ish situation before. I think you're right to not, just totally go cold turkey and cut them off straight away. And it's very valid that you would feel fucking annoyed and pissed off and stuff. I think look, they're obviously talking about you behind your back for a reason, and that may reflect more on them on the person speaking behind your back than themselves. Sorry, than the person who was being spoken about. I don't know, it's really scenario dependent. Like it depends on were they talking about you in the sense of like they were calling you a
Yeah, like
bad
is that
person,
negatively
like
manner or is it
or like because look, I mean, at the end of the day we all love each other and stuff, but there's things about everybody that wrecks everyone's heads. Like there's things about Simone that wrecks my head. There's things about Imran that wrecks my head. I'm sure Imran has pet peeves about me that I wreck his head with some things. Like
of course.
so I think
We're
the
human.
context, yeah, exactly. Like everybody has, nobody's perfect. So I think the context of what they were talking about Were they saying, oh yeah, look, they can be a bit intense around a certain situation, or were they saying, oh yeah, they can be, or like, was it more like, oh, this is a bad person, I don't like hanging around with them, she's a piece, or he or she is a piece of shit, blah blah, they're a horrible person, they're not nice to be around. Like, the context of that is really
Hmm.
important. I think the next move has to be to try and,
Confront them, I think.
confront them,
But in a
speak to them.
nicely way. It doesn't have to be necessarily am I like straight to their face or whatever. But I think it would probably be better to speak face to face in this situation,
Yeah,
in my opinion. In my opinion.
yeah,
And it doesn't have to become across as the side of like antagonizing them, saying, why were you speaking behind my back? It just could be a question like, here, man, like, look, I just want to know why you were saying this behind my back. Or, I think situations like this can be a bit difficult because you don't know how they spoke about you or what kind of scenario and like you were saying, there's Shaun was saying there, like there's not much context here for us to go off. But what I would say is I've experienced this situation once, and I just asked them. I just asked the person what they said, and in fairness to them, they were honest about it. And it's like we laughed it off after because like I can understand why they were speaking on it in that situation. So, and like again, it wouldn't be like Irish people not to have a bit of gossip to talk about, but like Shaun said there, everyone's human. So I think best thing I would say, if just in terms of like an advice, I would say just trying to like speak to them in a casual way in person about it, and then they can kind of take it how they want to be perceived.
yeah. Is it like and like from just rereading that again while the man was talking, they said they're close friends, so obviously not somebody you just want to kind of pass off, and hopefully you're at the point where you can have, a civil conversation with them. It might be a case of where you're not super close friends anymore after the conversation, but I think it's important just to have that conversation. Try and, not leave any, tension there on the table. Like, like come out knowing where you stand with the person, and then you can make a decision of like, whether you want to still be close friends with them, whether you want to, put a bit of a distance between you and just be casual friends, or whether you want to, not continue having a friendship with that person. I think that's all we can really say. With the information that we have,
Yeah.
and on to the second one. The second dilemma sent in by one of our listeners is, I'm realizing I people please a lot. How do I stop without feeling guilty?
Mm.
Do you want to take the lead on this one, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people fall into this situation of people pleasing, and I think today, to this day, I still fall into somewhat of a scenarios where like I do people please a lot. I think the idea of feeling guilty kind of comes with a lot of self-reflection on. And one thing I kind of was big on this year is like I want to have a lot more self-respect for myself, either that be in just throughout my own personal life or either that be in like work manners and things like that. And I think what's most important with this kind of situation is you got to realize, are you people pleasing in a scenario where you don't want to be people pleasing, or are you a people pleasing in a workplace manner where you need to be people pleasing? Because there are situations where like you bite your tongue in a workplace, and I'm sure we all experience it, where we all have to, do something we don't want to do necessarily in job manners. And I definitely don't think that you should do that. I think it is really good for yourself, not only in relationships and family manner, and it's still something I'm trying to learn as well. Um, about putting yourself first and not doing the easiest outlook. But again, like I said before, it's not easy. It's not something that comes quickly, and it's something I'm trying to develop this year. The situation about feeling guilty, I suppose, I think that's something that goes with time, and I feel like it is very negative to feel guilt on yourself. And I think over time, I think maybe it might get easier. But the reason I can't really talk much on the topic is because it's something I feel like I still am trying to get better at today. But one advice I would say, and I'm just probably advice for myself really, is to kind of put more self-respect onto yourself, being able to go into these situations. But I think self-reflection is a big thing, and I think maybe Shaun might be able to talk about that.
Yeah, this is something I feel like I've gotten better at. I'm definitely still not perfect at, at this, but the one thing I'd say is, how do I? The person says, how do I stop without feeling guilty? There's no reason to feel guilt. I think we're in a day and age where people understand that you need to kind of put yourself first. You can't, and I think it's really important for yourself to understand that you cannot help other people unless you're able, like unless you're able to help yourself. If you're in no frame of mind to help people, whether that's give someone a lift somewhere, cook them a dinner, babysit for them, like that can be in any way, like in so many different contexts. But if you're not healthy, of a good mindset, and not looking after yourself, you're not going to be able to help and look after other people as well, so I think looking at it from that angle can maybe help with the guilt. But if you're feeling guilty for people pleasing, you're only trying to do well by people, and something I would have been really bad for previously would have been, oh, where do you want to go for a coffee, some tea? Now, I famously, not famously, but I don't drink coffee. I don't like coffee. I've never enjoyed it. So someone would be like, oh, can we go to Starbucks? I hate the tea in Starbucks. The Starbucks hot chocolate is rotten. So I'll go to Starbucks and I'll sit there and I'll either drink water, I'll order nothing. And I don't want to be in Starbucks, whereas now I'm kind of, saying oh, I'd like to go to Butler's. I love a hot chocolate at Butler's, so it's little baby steps like that, going, what would I actually like? This person, I'm meeting up with a friend. This person has asked, what would you like to do? Give them an answer. Don't just say, oh, whatever, I'm easy, and let them do it. If they're asking you, now they might come up to you and say, Jesus, I'm craving a Starbucks. Yeah, grand. You can try and work something out where you either end up going to Starbucks because you don't mind, or you do both of them, or whatever. But I think little baby steps like that can help, because it's not like you're fundamentally rocking somebody else's day. So just kind of approach it with baby steps. And people pleasing, I don't think there's a massive thing to feel guilty over. You're trying to please other people, but you also, like I said, you gotta work with yourself as well, so you don't end up feeling upset or uncomfortable or not great about the scenario we're in. And that can range from helping people out to going out to a coffee with one of your friends.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of them things with time. It kind of probably get better a lot on more with self-reflection and, you know, realizing that, you shouldn't feel guilty for situations with your friends and stuff like that. So I think you were saying there, little baby steps, probably what maybe you improve over time, probably is probably the better way to look at it.
Yeah. Well, folks, I think that is where we're going to leave it for this week. So thank you very much for listening to this episode of The Distance Dilemma. My name is Shaun and I'm in Dublin, Ireland. This has been Imran. He is in Thun, Switzerland. This has been our Long Distance Friendship podcast. And we will be back next week from 6 a.m. Irish time, 7 a.m. Central European time. Until then, guys, thank you very much for tuning in, and we will chat to you again later.